Coming up on the Geek.0 podcast, Apple releases a bunch of devices at the latest Apple event, including 2 new smartphones and a device Apple's dubbing as the future of smartphones. We'll talk all that and more coming up on the Geek.0 podcast. So, iPhone event today.
Yeah, iPhone event happened. An event 10 years in the making.
Which is fitting, because this podcast is 2.5 months, 3 months in the making.
Yeah, it took something as big as iPhone X to get us
back on.
Butts and get us back on here. A lot of that, in all honesty, is on me. I got bronchitis pretty bad and was pretty much out of commission for about a month of that. So the last 2 weeks have been just not being able to find the time. But for 4 weeks before that, it was just I couldn't talk for more than 20 seconds without hacking up a lung.
Yeah, you sounded pretty bad.
So anybody out there that would have honestly wanted to listen to that, feel free to send me an email and tell me that I was a wuss or whatever. But it was a lot of that was for your guys' benefit.
Nobody wants to hear that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
No. It'd be such bad audio quality. Yeah, iPhone event happened, or the Apple event, or whatever you want to call it. Started off, Apple Watch happened, you can be Dick Tracy.
Ta-da.
Okay, cool.
They added
talk on your Apple Watch.
They finally added LTE, so your expensive Apple Watch can match the functionality of Android watches from 2.5 years ago. So good on you, Apple.
Kind of like how they added wireless charging. So you can do what a Samsung did.
We'll talk that too.
More.
So we got three. We had our big Apple event. This is kind of a landmark event for a couple reasons. More than one. So number one, it is the 10th anniversary of the iPhone. Right. Number two, this event is the first event to happen at the new Spaceship Campus.
The Steve Jobs Theater.
The Steve Jobs Theater. That holds 1,100 people, I believe. So
it's pretty good size. It was impressive looking on the stream. It was pretty good size.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a kind of a monumental event. This was a big event for Apple, and they wanted to make sure that everyone felt the importance of it. Obviously, and so we saw some product updates. Obviously, Apple Watch, which neither of us really care about.
I mean, kind of. I mean, now that it is LTE capable and stuff, it does. I mean. Because I am forced into the Apple ecosystem just by I have an iPhone for work.
Right.
I do actually. This is the first time I've really had an interest peaked. This is the first time in 3 iterations they've been able to get me go, maybe. I wish I could get a round one. Like, I'm one of those weird people that think watches should be round. That's part of the reason I got my Pebble when I did, because it was round.
Our Apple announcement today had 3 new phones announced.
Not 2.
Not 2.
Wait, there's more. If you call now,
one more thing.
There's more.
So we got an iPhone 8 and an 8 Plus. And to be fair, there has been a lot of talk and rumors around what's going on with iPhone for this announcement. And I have seen the rumors fly in every direction from very reliable sources. From we were going to get a whole bunch of phones to we're just going to get 2, a basic 8 iPhone model and then the high-end model. And what we ended up getting was 3 phones. So 2 iPhone 8s and then 1 standalone category product. And I figure we should go over the iPhone 8 first just because it happened. Nothing hugely revolutionary there. So we've got 2 models. We have iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus.
Which is kind of weird they didn't go 7S and 7S Plus. Like they broke the...
Yeah, I understand why though.
And I know why, because the body's different.
And we're actually gonna... Yeah, I was gonna say, we're gonna talk about that when we cover iPhone X.
10. iPhone 10.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of weird.
They made a couple changes that I think are cool. Apple, after years of like raping the consumer with 16 gig iPhones, they made a stellar move that's not very Apple-like. They made
this today.
Yeah, they made the default capacity for all the new iPhones 64 gig. So they start at 64 gig and go up to 256.
There's only 2.
Excuse me, yeah.
There's a 64 and a 256.
256. So
no
you either get big
128.
or massive. There's no in between. Okay.
Because my 6S Plus is a 128, and it feels like a huge amount of storage. Like I've had it for a year, and I went from a 16 gig to a 128, so that's probably why it feels like so much.
Right.
I still have like 86 gigs left on this thing, and I've had it for a year. I take a ton of pictures, and I have a ton of emails on this. And if you don't think emails to eat up space on a phone,
they do.
buddy, you crazy if you don't think that, because all those attachments and stuff, yeah, email takes up a ton of space on a phone. So I honestly don't know what you do with 256 gigs worth of space on a phone unless you're just constantly shooting massive HDR videos.
Lots and lots of video. Yeah,
it would have to be.
And I have the Pixel XL, and not by choice, I have the 32 gigabyte version, and that's just because when it launched, and I wasn't willing to wait 6 weeks. It just wasn't.
You were coming
off the Note. I had to exchange my Note 7.
You had to get a phone.
Yeah,
so.
and Verizon, they sent that little notification that says that they were going to brick my phone if I didn't turn it in, because I held it as long as I could. So I was forced to take the 32 gig Pixel XL. And I can't lie, I on a number of occasions now have received low space notifications. And that's after I've cleared off all the photos and everything. Because the nice thing about the Pixel is it gives unlimited backup or unlimited Google Photo and video backup at full resolution.
I wish Apple would do that, because I'm constantly getting, you need to expand your iCloud storage.
So I just touch a button and it all just zips to the cloud and wipes it from the phone. And it still shows on the phone, but it shows it in the cloud instead. So
yeah. Well, I do that. I do that with Dropbox.
Exactly. I think 64 gigs is the sweet spot. I honestly do.
I agree.
So I think it's a good move for them to do that. As far as size is concerned, we're looking pretty much at the same thing we already see with the 7S Plus, or excuse me, the iPhone 7 and
7 and 7 Plus.
7 and 7 Plus. So 5.45 inches by 2.65 for the standard, and then that big 6.24 by 307. So you get a 4.7 or a 5.5 display. Both are Retina HD. No major increases in any of this spec-wise over the current. Both are IPS displays, multi-touch. Some of the new stuff, this new True Tone in the display, which is intended to produce brighter and more vivid colors without oversaturation, like you get on the Samsung devices.
It's supposed to be more adaptive to your environment.
Correct.
I guess is kind of what this is. So if you're in the dark, it changes the hue a little bit. If you're out in the bright sun, it changes the hue, which would be nice, because there's a lot of times I have my brightness all the way up on my iPhone, and I'm like, if I'm outside, if I have sunglasses on, I'm having to pull my sunglasses down and hold it up to my hat.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I can see the thing.
So when Samsung
that'll be a real nice thing.
Brought the really nice AMOLED screens out, their answer to the same problem was just make the screen not only as badass as possible, but as insanely bright and rich colored. And the complaint that many people have had with Samsung's displays is they tend to be oversaturated because of that problem.
Well,
and Apple
slide the slider down a little bit.
And Apple said, well, why don't we make it, as always, Apple takes something that already exists and just does it better.
Yeah.
And the True Tone display is this attempt at making the screen adaptive so it adjusts to your individual environment. It's a wide color display. It's got a P3 rating. Again, 3D touch. So 625 CD max brightness. I don't know what that equates to in nits. But dual domain pixels for wide viewing angles. Finally added a fingerprint resistant oleophobic coating improvement to it. They said there's going to stop those prints from getting on it.
Which is great until you put a glass screen protector on it, because
it doesn't have the coating. Exactly.
So that's great.
And then
make
display
a shatterproof
zoom
screen, and I'll be excited about it.
Yeah, once you add it. And then, interestingly enough, IP67. So we now have iPhones that are waterproof.
Wow.
Natively, not with a case. So IP67,
resistant.
is water and dust. So
They're not calling it proof. They said water and dust resistant.
fair enough.
Is what they said
If I remember though,
proof,
IP67 is up to 3 meters.
It's supposed to be.
So 3.3 meters. And to be fair, that's pretty much the industry standard in smartphones. It's what Samsung's models came out with. And all of them are.
No doubt.
And then they moved up to the IP68. So it's a good place to start for an iPhone.
You can take it down a water slide. You'll be
and you'll be good.
Fine. But don't drop it in the deep end of an Olympic-sized pool. Then you're going to start having problems.
The big bump up in here, though, is where the real magic happens is this new A11 processor, the A11 Bionic chip. With
pretty impressive.
64-bit architecture. It's got a neural engine and the embedded M11 Motion coprocessor. And one thing they didn't really push much in their press conference or the announcement is that it has the first Apple-designed graphics chip.
It's interesting they didn't talk more about that. You think they would have wanted to toot their horn a little bit more?
I think they're. Here's my guess. My guess is that they're trying to state it and not haggle on the issue or talk about it too much, since right now the company that Emotion Graphics
is suing them.
Is suing them, saying that they emphatically feel that there's no way Apple could have designed a graphics chip on their own that wouldn't infringe on the patents of the chip they've been using from this company forever. And that company is actually in dire straits because for so long, Apple became their largest part of their supply chain. They were so busy with Apple products, they couldn't do anything else. And that's honestly, that's been a problem for a number of companies. When a company like Apple comes to you, if they pull ever, and that line dries up, you're done.
You die.
You're done. Yeah, because they'll keep you so busy. And it's the Walmart philosophy that it's the same thing people hate about Walmart.
Yeah, you can't have 85% of your business going through one
company.
Source.
Yeah, and then have them pull that business and still
business decision.
Stay viable.
Yeah.
So 12 megapixel camera, and this is where things start to diverge a little bit.
That's front and rear now, isn't it? 12 megapixel front and rear.
Yeah, which is huge.
That's a big step up.
Yeah, I was going to say, nobody really talks about that, but that's massive because most of the time you're getting like a 12 or 16 in the back and like a 5 in the front. And even Apple did that in previous versions, but they were saying, well, the 5 is so good on the front, trust me, you will never notice. Some of the pictures they showed off in selfies that they took with the new selfie cam blew my mind. I will say that. I was shocked. Oh, yeah. So, and then of course in the 8 Plus, we have the wide angle and telephoto, optical zoom, and digital zoom up to 10x, portrait mode, and that special portrait lighting mode. So some interesting features, I guess, added. Most of the most of the newsworthy stuff comes in the form of the software upgrades to the iPhone. So that they've got a new, I forget what they call it. The live photos with stabilization was added. The stabilization to live photos.
I never use live photos on my phone.
Do you never?
Never.
It looks so cool, but
it does, but I hardly ever remember it is there.
They have the new background removal like on the phone, which was pretty impressive in the display in the demonstration that they put on stage.
Yes.
That was interesting. Like it'll just automatically remove the background for you at the touch because of the depth sensing camera. Right. And actually, I think I moved ahead because that's the feature on the depth sensing camera on the X. So we'll get into that.
10. Yeah.
So other than that, there aren't any like groundbreaking, like, oh my God, this is massive. It's the typical that you expect from Apple on these two phones.
The AR wasn't the AR stuff on those phones as well.
That's the software side. That's what I was going to say. As far as hardware is concerned,
hardware. Yeah,
you get the chip bump, which you expect, and then a few additional features.
Yeah. Go to the better screen and all that. So
and then Apple does what they do best, and they go, and this is honestly, it's the one thing I'm so jealous of Apple users. As much as I hate being controlled by a company and told how I can use my product I paid for them. Right. The one beauty of Apple ecosystem is that the hardware and the software are built together by the same company,
And they
so
work extremely well together.
Extremely well. And talk about AR kit, because this blew my mind.
Dude,
did you see the AR?
That was, I did see AR kit. I actually got lucky. I just kind of got to the point where I wasn't able to get on there, and then we had to drop my wife's car for an oil change and go run a couple errands and this and the other, and I missed the watch and all that. And then right as I got to pick her car up and got in and dropped my truck off and I was sitting there at the oil change place, and I was like, let's see where they're at in the conference. And it was literally right when they were going into the phones. So I thankfully got to see everything on the phone.
Oh, that was a good time to come in, too.
Except for the intro video on the X. That's the only thing that I missed.
Okay.
Or 10. Because I was watching it through Twitter. And then I responded to a text from you. And then Twitter locked up. So I had to back all the way out and go back. And I went through Chrome and went to Apple.com, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, dude, the AR kit was cool. The whole thing with the AR kit is that the processing power and the GPU power and the camera and blah, 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 blah on the phone will now give you the ability to play games or augment reality through your phone. One of the ones that they showed that I thought was really cool was the one that Major League Baseball was working on.
Yes. Yeah.
It's cool in a short burst, okay? I mean, because you can hold the phone up and it looks and it tells you this player's on second. Here's all of his stats. This is who's pitching. Here's all of his stats. This is who's on the on-deck circle. Here's all of his stats. And that's really cool. But my concern with that, and it's just probably a baseball purist thing on me, is that there's going to be 20,000 people sitting in a baseball stadium all staring through their iPhones to watch a baseball game instead of just watching a baseball game.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's cool, but at the same time, I'm like, these kids and their smartphones, feeling like an old man going, dude, it's baseball. Let's leave that one alone. Do it at basketball or something like that. Games that you can play through it. They had this incredible I can't remember the name of the game, but they had this incredible demo.
The Directive Games game.
Yes,
it's called The Machines.
Yeah. Okay. It was essentially a 3D 4K tabletop game.
Mech Warrior.
It
looked like Mech Warrior.
A mech battle game. And as you looked through your phone, you were able to watch the battles on a table. And the closer you got to the action, the louder it gets. If you move around behind a building, the sound gets obstructed until you come back around from the building. I'm like, it was freaking cool. It was freaking cool.
It was beyond cool.
It showed it because everybody been like, well, when's Apple going to jump into VR? When's Apple going to jump into VR? Obviously, they're not looking at VR as being the next step.
No,
they're looking at AR as being the next step. Kind of like how Google is with the HoloLens.
Yeah, Microsoft.
Or Microsoft is with HoloLens. Sorry, yeah.
Which Tim Cook has been pretty clear for the last 3-4 years when they kept whenever pressers or a journalist would ask about VR, and he would say that he felt the next frontier was truly AR, and that Apple was definitely looking into VR, but where they were seeing the stunning technology was in the AR. And
it makes perfect sense because last summer, what was the biggest thing that happened last summer? Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah. I forget that that's only been a year ago. It seems like
It feels like forever.
In the past.
Last summer, AR really started hitting a stride.
Yep.
And getting into the public consciousness because of Pokemon Go. And people dug it. They loved how you could look for Pokemon in their environment and stuff. So people are really going to dig the idea, and we've ordered that, and I don't know if it's arrived or what. The AR
Father IO.
Yes.
It's not in yet. I got a notification from them the other day. Now that you mentioned that, but go ahead.
So that's the AR laser tag.
Yes.
Where you're running through your environment to shoot each other with your phone. So that's going to be more and more of a deal because it's that nice hybrid between real life and a video game.
Exactly.
To where you're not having to strap this bulky freaking headset on and all that, because VR is fun, but man, your neck gets tired after a little bit.
Yeah.
You can't play it too long or you get tired.
Well, and we've talked about this before, and as a matter of fact, I just did a presentation, a discussion with OTC and students there about the battle between AR and VR. And while VR has some very, very amazing and seriously beneficial applications to where VR can be very, very useful and handy, the true future of this kind of technology is in AR, because VR, as you mentioned, right now it requires bulky equipment, though that is very quickly changing this year. But it also requires you to be cut off from the world around you. And the beauty of AR is the fact that it just overlays something onto the environment you're currently working in, which makes it nowhere near as obtrusive, okay? And also it enables you to stay connected to the real world while still engaging with the real-time data or game or whatever that you're using. What really made this impressive was last year at E3, Microsoft showed off a demo of HoloLens doing Minecraft. And everyone who has ever seen that demo, their mind has melted inside their skull and poured out of their ear because of just how impressive it is. But the caveat to all this has been what we saw in the demonstration isn't quite what their experience, the experience they can currently provide with HoloLens. Number one, the viewing angle is so much more limited into a tiny, tiny little square inside the headset. And it's not as malleable as they showed off. So they were using insanely powerful hardware for the demonstration that would never see the light of day in a consumer setting. Apple has recreated that same type of experience with a smartphone.
In a phone.
Yeah, and it's here now, not in 18 to 24 months.
I mean, in like a month.
But but nonetheless, it's live demo on stage, real-time game. And like you said, as he panned around, it was regenerating the environment digitally in full resolution.
It worked better than Face ID did.
Yeah, the sound occlusion that was happening with with like solid objects. So Apple's really onto something with ARKit.
And it makes a lot more sense with the AR. And I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the show before, but I know I've told you about it. The company that I worked for has actually started using HoloLens.
Yeah, that's right.
In facilities. So we had a new facility, a new manufacturing facility, and a new warehouse we had to set up, and they brought in a HoloLens and walked into this vacant warehouse and used HoloLens and compared it to what the blueprint was and where everything was supposed to lay out, and it gave them the opportunity to pick stuff up and move it around virtually because, oh wait, this isn't going to work where we thought it was going to work. We need to move this here and all that. And it saved the company millions of dollars because they didn't bolt all of this stuff in and then go, this ain't gonna work.
Oops.
We got to tear all this up and move it around to where it is going to work. So that the AR is I think it's definitely where it's going. There's definitely gonna be more of it.
Yeah. The future here for AR is almost boundless. And like you mentioned, Pokemon Go was the first real world consumer test.
Light scratch.
Yeah, but it's the most simple. And to be fair, 90% of people didn't play Pokemon Go in the AR mode anyway because it chewed up battery life like triple the amount. So people played with it at first at home when it was plugged in, and then once the first time their battery went down to a quarter outdoors, they switched AR mode off instantly. And so they weren't getting that experience.
That's got to be the major concern with ARKit is iPhones aren't exactly world renowned for their battery life. And if you're at a baseball game staring at baseball players or you're looking up at the night sky to see where the stars are,
right?
What is that going to do to your battery life? Is it going to chew it down? Are you going to be able to visibly stare at your battery meter and watch it go and just drop it to nothing?
They talked about that a little bit, and they assured that that they're well aware of that concern. They have it internally as well, and that we are going to be surprised by the amount of battery life that, you know what I mean? They can eke out of these things.
They didn't say we were going to be surprised in a good way. I'm just playing. I just said we'd be
Ouch.
surprised by the battery life. No,
But yeah,
just
I mean,
kidding.
fair
Just
enough.
kidding. I'm sure they
We
made
don't
it
know
enough.
yet, and so
Yeah. So,
it
I mean,
remains to be seen.
yeah,
But it's a legitimate
but it
concern.
looks cool. It is. Um, so there's the iPhone 8, the iPhone 8s, and now there's
8
the
Plus.
whatever. Yeah, the 8 Plus. They made it they made it confusing. There's the X they're calling it the 10, right? Like
The
OS
iPhone
10.
10.
Yeah.
So
okay.
the idea here is the same thing that happened with Windows 10. Number one, it's the 10th anniversary of the phone.
Nines are stupid.
So everybody hates
Nobody
nines.
needs a 9.
Nobody needs nines.
Windows doesn't need a 9.
So
The last company to use a 9 was HTC, and we see where they're at right now.
So it is the iPhone 10, and because it is the 10th anniversary, so they just skipped 9 completely in the nomenclature and went straight to the iPhone X, which stands for iPhone 10. And truly, honestly, while I watched the event and I'm always excited, even though I'm not going to buy Apple's product, I'm always excited about the event because Apple is so good at the showmanship, okay? Yeah. Like Craig Federighi, Tim Cook, and Phil Schiller.
And Johnny Ive.
You never even see him anymore, thank God. So...
Yes, but he gives the most beautiful voiceover
he does.
of all the design videos.
Especially when he says cross instead of angry.
And then you can be an emoji that's cross like a chicken.
So they put on such a show. These ringmasters have been doing it for so long, okay? And people were worried when Steve Jobs died if Tim Cook was going to be able to pick up that torch and just carry it. And honestly, as a presenter... he's less pissed off, but
I agree.
Tim Cook is so good at these events.
Steve Jobs was like, "This is the tech, and F you if you don't think this is the tech."
Yeah, exactly.
You will buy this.
It's because these products were him. Okay.
Oh yeah.
They embodied who he was, and he wanted, and so he took it like insultingly, personally, when people weren't impressed. And so I always get excited about the showmanship. But as I watched this conference, I was like, okay. Ooh, not what we were expecting for phones. We were expecting this big fancy. And I honestly forgot until we got to the ARKit demo. I forgot about Apple's One More Thing. And I was like, would they do an entirely different phone for One More Thing? And sure enough, Tim Cook comes out and says, we have one more thing. And he's like, we don't take these words lightly. But he said something very interesting. And that is that their teams have been busy working for the past decade and for definitely hardcore the last 3 years, not just on this phone, but on the future of the smartphone. So they really do see what they've got planned with this phone to be almost like a break from this industry and the new vision for what phones are going to be in the future. So this phone, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm an Android boy. I can't wait for my Pixel 2, which I haven't even seen an actual version of. This phone is lit, to use the terminology of people younger than me.
It is a good-looking phone.
It is.
And you're right. Those young kids like me.
So 5.8 inch, so it's smaller than the larger iPhone 8 Plus.
And hang on. There's before we get crazy into specs and all this.
Okay.
I guess I don't understand the thought process of the 8 Plus, and the X.
I totally do. I will explain it when you're ready.
They could have went the 8 and the X.
Nope. There's a very clear marketing and branding strategy behind this. This is intended to be the uber elite of their product line. This is like the Mac Pro of their phones. Okay,
but it's only $200 more than the 8 Plus.
It is, but the production numbers on these are going to be so low compared to the mainstream models. They want this to be a status symbol. I'm guaranteeing you.
They're going to Nintendo this bitch.
They're going to Nintendo the hell out of it. They're going to manufacture, if that much, a third of the quantity that they will be of inventory for the 8 and 8 Plus.
Yeah.
Those will be the mainstream upgrades. These phones are going to be the elite. Don't forget, this is a $1,000 phone.
Yeah.
And I just have to
is.
say real quick, as an Android fanboy, not fanboy, but as an Android fan, seeing the Note 8, which to me was just a slightly improved with a stylus version of the existing Galaxy S8 Plus, launched for $1,000. I literally was heartbroken for Samsung. I was like,
950.
are you out of your minds? And then Apple drops this for $1,000, and I'm like, there's no contest. Up until this point, like when the Note launched, you knew they were giving Apple a run for their money. The Note line is a powerful product. Yes, and now the Note 8 is just, I mean, this melts its face.
It's an also, it basically makes it an also ran.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, look, that's just another phablet we don't need. I mean, why would I buy the Note 8 outside of the open ecosystem of Android? There's not
maybe just a tiny bit of like adherence or love for the stylus, because I get that. I've used it and
when
it's
you're
amazing.
Trying to write and stuff. The stylus, which is hilarious, but because going back 10 years ago, I had a Pocket PC with a stylus.
Exactly. I had an old Palm Treo. But this phone, man, it's as close as you're going to come to sex in a smartphone. It's all screen.
It's the same processor as the 8 and the 8S, or the 8 Plus.
Correct.
It does have the bigger screen because it's a 5.8 inch instead of a 5.5. It seems like the two biggest things that it adds is the multiple optical stabilizers, on the rear camera.
Yeah.
And then Face ID.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And the Face ID's neat. But I have some concerns.
So there's a bunch of features on it that there's actually more than that to it, but it's based on the Face ID system.
There's the removal of the home button.
Yeah, so no home button.
Which I'll say this right off the get-go. That is my biggest gripe about this phone. Not necessarily the removal of the home button, but then when you look at this phone, every time you look at this phone, there's this little bar at the bottom of the phone above the charging port.
Yes, tiny little white bar.
Where you go to swipe up.
Yes.
Because everything is swipe up now.
Yep.
And there's this 1-inch bar that's there all the time. Is it going to fade off during Netflix? I don't know.
In demos, it did.
Okay.
So when you touch the screen, it just like Android, okay, and the way, for example, in the Pixel, my menu bar doesn't show up when I'm in full screen apps. If I touch the screen, it just lightly comes up, and then you can use it.
Follow up, because I haven't seen any demos of Netflix, obviously.
Okay.
The notch out on the screen, because you have a bezel-less screen, and then you have this massive notch out at the top for the litany of features that Face ID requires to work.
Right.
Does your show wrap around that, or does it stop short of it?
No, it stops short of it. There is actually just barely minute. Yeah, so you get a perfectly square vision.
Then I'm good.
Okay.
Good job, Apple. I like the phone now, because those were those were two of my biggest questions. I obviously have a big ass phone, so I watch video on it. And I would not put up with an obstructed view of a video.
No, I wouldn't either.
In any way, shape, or form.
And let's face it, as much as I think he's a self-righteous, deluded tool, Johnny Ive wouldn't stand for that. He's meticulous about his vision.
I would like to see, though.
What
I would like to see with that little extra space there on the end.
What's that?
Continue to have the clock right there.
Yes.
Continue to have the battery
Wi-Fi meter.
There. Yep. Continue to have the Wi-Fi meter. Just flip them horizontal when you're in landscape mode.
That would be dope.
That would be cool. But anyway,
well, let's break this phone down. So
let's dive in, man.
So 5.8 inch Super Retina display. I thought that was kind of funny when they were like Super Retina.
It puts the O in OLED.
Oh yes. So the Super Retina display is 458 ppi, which for an iPhone is the highest resolution that they've ever had. So
and it should be, especially for $1,000.
exactly.
So, but still, that's pretty solid pixel density.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. They're getting up there, trying to match Samsung's displays over the past year. So I mean, that's good. It's gonna be the most beautiful iPhone display ever, and it looks good.
It looks great.
It is IP67 rated. Once again, it's got the A11 Bionic chip, 64 bits, neural engine, M11 motion coprocessor. As you mentioned, it's got the extra optical stabilizers in the rear camera.
That's what it's like 4 magnets, if I'm not mistaken, or was it something? Yeah, 4 magnets for stabilization, which is impressive.
And then the portrait mode and portrait lighting mode.
That was really cool.
Yeah, the dual optical image stabilization. Cool. And
I've got to piss off so many people that have been trained to do that for a living.
Oh yeah. Well,
how many pro photographers just hate Apple?
Yeah. 1080 only at 30 and 60. I was kind of shocked that it wouldn't do 1080 at 120.
When it's doing 4K at 60, you would think.
But it does do, well, it says slow-mo support for 1080 at 120 or 240. So, but only in slow-mo.
Yeah, well,
so,
I mean, you almost don't need it
Yeah.
beyond slow-mo, so.
And then you can take 8 megapixel stills with 4K. The real shining part of this phone, though, is this new True Depth camera. So it's a front 7 megapixel camera that has portrait mode, portrait lighting, the Animoji setting, but it is a collection of sensors that make up this camera that has the ability to sense depth. Now, here's why this is important.
It has all the sensors.
It is all the sensors. Backside illumination, body and face, auto image stabilization, wide color capture.
Of some sort.
Yeah, so here's where this is cool, folks. Samsung tried facial recognition many years ago. And while
they tried it again last year.
Well, they still have it, yes. But
they still have it.
They've been trying.
It. Yeah.
So what they were doing is they were using existing camera technology. They weren't looking deeper than that, and they were just making sure that it recognized a face. But they were only measuring a certain number of points, and Samsung's their smartphone facial recognition technology can be fooled by a photo of you. So what makes Apple's technology different here is this True Depth camera measures the actual depth of your face. It 3D maps it. So it actually knows what you truly look like, not just what a symmetrical feature set is.
And what's cool is every time you unlock the phone, it's measuring your face.
Every time. It's collecting that data and storing it.
So if you are gaining or losing weight, or you're growing a beard, or you're going bald, or you had to get glasses, or you got rid of your glasses and got contacts, it will continually make those adjustments so it knows that it's you.
Which is the most surprising and awesome innovation in that technology.
Oh, absolutely.
And what makes this so much more effective is this doesn't measure 250 or 512 or 1,000 points. It measures 30,000 points on the face, and it's able to detect from a flat lying position at an angle. So that means that by the time you've picked up your phone, before it even gets to your face, it has the ability to recognize you.
It also notices whether or not you're paying attention, like if you're actively looking at the phone,
which is dope.
So if I'm holding this right here, and if I'm holding it like this
and looking off in another direction,
it's not gonna unlock.
Right.
And then I can do like this, and it's gonna unlock.
Yeah. In theory.
So in theory,
but what people
during the presentation,
there isn't an effective facial recognition in any device right now. The closest anything's come is Windows Hello, which works very good. I use it on my computer at home. So as soon as I sit down, it sees my face and it automatically opens up. It's not been effective up to this point in any other device. And Apple's like, we got this.
Well, and they said, I mean, they glasses, hat, beard, no beard, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
There was one thing they didn't mention, though.
Hat with glasses.
You and I discussed hat with glasses.
As you mentioned.
And they also didn't mention sunglasses.
Oh, that's true. You did make mention of that. That's right.
So if I'm wearing, a reflective pair of sunglasses, like a pair of Wayfarers or something that block up, a third of my face, Am I going to have to take off my sunglasses every time I want to unlock my phone? Don't know. If I'm wearing a hat and glasses, do I have to take one of them off to unlock my phone? I don't know yet. And we're not going to know till it gets out into the wild.
That's a really good point.
And hopefully, surely someone that works at Apple is going bald like me and wears a hat a lot, that also struggles with being nearsighted and wears glasses.
That's a good point.
Surely that has happened. We're going to find out. Because that, and in every single, because they showed all these pictures, they showed this like redheaded girl and all these different versions of her to how she could unlock the phone.
Yeah.
And at no point was she wearing a hat and glasses at the same time.
It's a very good call.
Maybe maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm just reading too far into it because I'm someone that wears a hat a lot and wears glasses or sunglasses all the time. You know, because if I'm having to stand outside and take my sunglasses off to unlock this phone, that's going to be a huge egg in the face moment for Apple.
It is.
Because people will not like that.
No.
At all. That'd be a massive problem.
Well, they're going to have to prove it to people. Let's face it.
Oh, yeah.
So Face ID is obviously it's the hallmark feature of the new phone. But Apple, the one thing they do well that they've never failed on is that when it's a critical technology like this, not like maps, but when it's a critical technology, they don't fall down because they realize how much of their reputation is relying on it. One of the things they pushed heavily was that one of the new features of Face ID is that it's so secure that it's eligible to be used with Apple Pay. Right. And I mean, you can talk to any of the companies that have begged to get onto Apple Pay, how stringent their security requirements are for that. So if they're certifying that this works, smoothly with Apple Pay and that it's secure enough, they've definitely done their legwork.
Because they say with Touch ID, there was a 1 in 5,000 chance that someone could open it. Was out there saying?
I didn't read that stat.
They showed it during the conference when they were talking about Face ID. It was like 1 in 5,000 chance that somebody's fingerprint was similar enough that it could open the phone. And then with current facial recognition technology, there was a 1 in 30,000 chance that somebody with similar enough facial features could open the phone. And then they busted out with Face ID. It's a 1 in 1 million chance.
There it is. 1 in 50,000 error rate for Touch ID.
Say 1 in 50,000.
But it's 1 in a million for.
And then 1 in 300. Thank you. 1 in 50,000. And then face recognition technology currently is 1 in 300,000. And then Face ID is 1 in a million, unless you have like an identical twin. They specifically.
It's kind of big deal.
It's a huge deal, but they did specifically mention like identical twins and stuff. There's a possibility, depending on how identical they are, that they could unlock each other's phones, which makes perfect sense.
Or if someone cuts off your face and puts it on them.
Well, that wouldn't work because the bone structure would be different. And
This is true.
So it wouldn't work.
So all of this technology, one of the things we forgot to mention or mock was the fact that they announced that because of the new glass backs, wireless charging is now built into the iPhone.
Happy 2014 Apple fans.
Yes, welcome to 2014 Apple fans.
Got that Qi charging.
And owners,
I do like that they're working with Qi to make the pad for the multiple items to charge at once.
Yeah,
which I know exists. But
I was just gonna say I tweeted about that from our account today. I had a multi-charging Qi pad 2 years ago, and all of a sudden they announced it on stage, and the news media is like, Apple invented.
But it won't work as well as
wireless charging
as the old Energizer pad. I mean, come on.
Fair enough.
Or the Energizer pad won't work as well as this new $500 Qi pad from Apple.
And I'm sure it's going to be, it's probably going to be $100 pad.
What they call it, like Airwave or Air Charge?
It's called Air Charge.
Air Charge?
Air Power.
Air Power.
Air Power.
You know what? That's cool. That works with what Apple does.
One of the cooler features that they came out with, and I'm sorry that this is something that excites me.
No, go ahead.
Is Animoji.
Oh my gosh.
And it's
Dude,
so
okay.
hold
Seriously.
on.
No. Apple comes out with literally the most advanced facial recognition technology in the history of mankind, according to them. And they spent 15 minutes acting like a unicorn, a chicken, and a pile of crap and talking through it.
Time
Did
out.
they think the Emoji Movie was going to be a bigger thing than it was
No,
when they were
time out.
developing this?
I'm going to tell
Or
you why this is important, okay?
it's cute and it's fun, but for frack's sake.
So here's the deal. The
Right.
Animoji system, though, is the first time that you can actually put your own emotion into your phone without having to select from some random collection of images on the internet. And so
Yeah.
this is taking
there's
GIFs
something-
and emojis to another level.
But there's something about, and I get where you're going with that, and I
Okay.
understand that. But to me, because we've had these GIF battles before,
Yes, we have.
there's something poetic about going on the internet and finding a GIF that represents your thoughts and feelings, and going for the hunt. It's like going out on a safari in Africa to find the right picture to use for that moment, versus looking at a pile of poo on your phone and going, I'm sad, and then sending a I'm sad pile of poo to somebody.
Fair enough.
I guess it's fine.
So-
Snapchat works too.
Here's why this is cool, though. Okay, for anyone who is a diehard Android user, who's gotten text messages before from somebody who uses an iPhone,
Yeah.
we are shocked at how easily and how seamlessly their texts come through with emojis to express things.
That is very true.
And it's because the emoji system is built so perfectly into Apple's keyboard that I can very easily type a message and throw emojis in. When you go on any Android phone, there's like 16 different emoji menus. You have to pick which kind of category and then what type of topic. And then you have to and Apple's is smart. It actually learns from the emojis you pick and brings those emojis up to the front. So it knows what you use most.
Yeah, most
None of this exists on Android.
And if you type in like love, it'll pop up the heart.
Yes.
If
So
you type in
Apple,
LOL, it'll
and
show.
that's
it'll
the
show
beauty of
laughing
software
face.
integration with the hardware. Okay.
Absolutely.
It's smart. And so
No argument for me on that.
Animoji, I promise, laugh now, folks, but I'm telling you, you watch. Animoji is now going to set an entirely new landmark in the way we communicate through SMS and messengers, period. I'm telling you, everybody's going to now copy this. There's going to be 1,001 attempts to replicate this, and you're going to see all these companies building new functionality into their applications and things like that. You watch when Facebook jumps on this, okay? To now integrate Animoji into their system. So, and of course, Apple's going to grow that number from 12 to 6,000 different faces, rather than just the monkey and the alien and the bear and yada yada yada.
The poo and the unicorn.
The poo and the unicorn. So, Touch ID. Obviously, we've got wireless charging. We've got waterproof. This new processor. The GPU is a triple core GPU, which is 30% faster than the A10 Fusion, which is, let's face it, is a pretty significant improvement over the company they were using in the past.
A year over year, 30% improvement is huge.
Really makes me wonder if that's in-house hardware development. I'm just putting that out there. That's a massive increase in power when another company has been responsible.
They're talking an additional 2 hours of battery life on this phone too over the iPhone 7.
Absolutely.
And that is massive. So I already gave my little gripe about the 1-inch bar across the bottom. I don't necessarily like the swiping up to close apps to go back to the home screen. You know what I mean?
Yep.
To me, that's additional movement. Okay, so here's my iPhone.
Okay, it's
and
a
now
step.
Now I'm having to do this. This is what I'm gonna have to do. There, closed. It's an additional step for me to get to the list of apps. I'm having to swipe up and hold, which it takes more time than a double tap.
Fair enough.
Because I can bam bam, and I've got both the apps open. So, take it for what it is. I would much rather see this Apple on the back be like the Pixel, a Touch ID sensor. I understand how Apple works, and they probably don't necessarily. That's how Google does it. That's how LG does it. We don't want to do it that way. We're Apple. We want to have you stare at your phone, and that's fine, I guess. But I just feel like it's a missed opportunity because they could have Face ID and Touch ID in this phone,
Yeah.
and give the consumer a choice.
No, I agree.
And if this was a little light up LED like the back of a MacBook,
that would be so awesome.
Would that not be sexy?
Yeah, that would truly
on
be
this
awesome.
new phone? So I don't know. I guess that's just me. They are saying though that the glass is going to be the strongest glass ever put in a consumer smartphone because it has a stainless steel structure within the phone to protect the glass, to make it more durable. So strongest glass ever put in a phone, which is good because they're doing. I like that they went back to the glass front, glass back that you had on the 4.
Yep.
I always thought that the 4 was the best looking iPhone that they had made. The bigger screens are nice and stuff, but the 4 was by far the prettiest phone that they had built.
Yeah, it's a nice looking phone.
Yeah, so I think the 8, the 8S, and the X, they're all very pretty phones.
I wanted to say one thing. When I watched the video that they displayed, I could have swore that the video cut off before the indentation.
It felt like it. Like it was a very, like you were talking about the commercial.
I just sent you a image in Skype Messenger. And sure enough, they've got that's of the game that they were demoing, and sure enough, that cutout is right there in the middle of what you're doing.
See.
So that means, and now that I'm looking at their own website, that cutout is cut out of everything that is full screen.
I do not like that, Sam. I am.
I do not like that, Sam. I am.
I do not like those green eggs and ham. That sucks.
Indeed.
There's that stupid little bar right there. Make sure you edit that onto the video. Show this picture that we're talking about right now, because there's nothing I hate more than an unobstructed an obstructed screen. I hate an obstructed screen.
Yeah, anything that interferes with the user experience.
I have a 65-inch 4K TV in the living room. If something is sitting at the bottom right-hand corner and covering that much of the screen, I will get pissed off and get up and move it.
Yep.
If that's how it is on like Netflix and stuff, and Hulu and Prime Video and all that, no interest. 0 interest. If that's how that display is. Face ID ain't worth it. I'm sorry. No thank you. I'd rather just have a rectangular screen.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I agree. It's kind of sucks that I guess maybe I could get used to it, but I won't be using one because I'm not buying one.
There's no way I would get used to that. And I know that makes me sound petty and bitchy and grouchy about this incredible piece of hardware. But
that's the thing you use. That's a computer you use more than any other one. So
like on a game, I could probably forgive it, but on a video, on a show or movie that I'm watching, rounded off corners means I'm missing part of the video. This little bar across there means I'm missing part of the video, and then this notch out at the top means I'm missing part of the video. So by the time you add all that up, there's a pretty significant portion of the screen that is not being shown in landscape format.
Yeah.
So and who knows, knowing Netflix, because I think Netflix is probably smart enough that they will optimize their app to stop short. Like they'll add black bars onto the edge to stop it short.
Hopefully, just to keep it looking nice.
I would hope so, because they're going to look at that and go, we can't have Frank Underwood's entire right arm chopped off because he's standing right here, or half his face is gone because he's standing at the edge of the screen.
Right.
I mean, so they're not going to. I don't see them. I don't see Reed Hastings and the crew putting up with that. So,
you heard it from us, developers. Make sure, since Apple's not doing it, make sure that your apps compensate for that.
Please.
That notch.
Not that I'm going to own this phone. There's no way my company's buying me $1,000 luxury phone.
No.
But please, because somebody I know is going to have it, and I'm going to want to look at it, and I don't want to be disappointed because they didn't think of that. So anyway,
yeah, no joke.
Anyway, so I think we've kind of hit our time. Probably went a little longer than we anticipated going. Talking about these phones, and that's fine. It's like I said, it's an event 10 years for them and 8 weeks for us.
Lastly, the last thing we did not mention, the iPhone 10, the iPhone X starts at $999. The 256 gig model is $1,149. $1,150.
Yep.
Yes. Stay tuned. We have some cool stuff coming up from Geek.0 that I can't talk about now. But I think it's going to be kind of cool. Some opportunities to branch out and offer some other stuff. So just stay tuned. Okay.
Quick,
don't give
short,
up on us.
Additional content.
Yes. Don't give up on us.
You'll be seeing us more and more.
Yes.
In
smaller bits.
We will definitely be making the effort to record the show.
Yes.
Itself every week. We will be getting back to that. We'll record another show next week. The week after, probably not, because I'm going to be in Nashville working. But then the week after that,
we'll have content.
There will be 3 shows in the next 4 weeks. I promise, unless I get sick again. I mean, so God willing, the Lord above willing, there will be 3 shows in the next 4 weeks.
Fair enough. Well, that's it, folks. That's it for us. Stay tuned. Make sure that you follow us on social media. Check us out at geek.0.com. That's geekpoint0.com. As well as all of your favorite social media channels /geek.0 spelled out as well. geekpoint0. And obviously, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and review us, please. That helps a lot.
Yes, please. And if you know anybody that would like us rambling like incoherent idiots for an hour, just let them know that we exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we can fill that void.
Oh, yeah. We can easily ramble for an hour.
So that does it for us this week. I'm Shawn Michael.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll talk to you guys later.
Have a great week, geeks.